So the first question I asked was, is there something that all personality disorders have in common? Could simply be how personality disorders in general affect a person's life or lifestyle. So I guess what I'm asking there is it could be just that, it interferes with having a personality disorder of any kind interferes with, success in life or, potential. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm looking for, a personality disorder is a very specific category within which there are many categories. And it's different from what I think of as more common mental health disorders, maybe not more common, but it's not depression, it's not anxiety, even if it includes them. I know. Why are they all put together? Why are the how many are there? 10 personality disorders in 3 clusters? But what makes them all personality disorders? Do you even know? Do we even know?
Well, if we don't know what psychology is, we have trouble. Okay. All right. So that's it. The backdrop. Well, the backdrop is there's all of this confusion. Okay. We don't really. So, but I'll give you the short answer.
Okay.
Okay. So the short answer is that personality disorders are structural functional disturbances in identity, relationship, and affect.
Okay.
Okay. That then lead to long-standing maladaptive patterns and difficulties in functioning and fulfillment.
So this is why I have to send it back to you after I incorporate you into the article, 1 or 2 of the articles, is because I will change that wording and just ask you, just have I said the right thing, even though I've tried to put it into layman's terms. That's, yeah. Okay. So
just to give you, then your psyche, okay, this is from the inside, this is how you're seeing the world, and it's stacked. Okay, you have into your body, like your pleasure and pain, your basic animal system. Okay, and that's where your emotions are and your core mood and drives, most organized by positive and negative affect systems. Okay, that then basically give you gas to go, energize. Oh my God, I want that. Sex, food, status, that kind of stuff. And breaks to, oh God, avoid that. Okay. And in terms of dispositional traits, we see extroversion. A trait is a dispositional tendency. Extroversion is high, like, oh, approach, excitement. Neuroticism is very high, breaks, avoid. Okay.
Okay.
Why is that important? Because central to avoidant personality disorder is high neuroticism. Okay. All right. So that's your animal base. And then you come up and you're a primate. You're a great ape. Okay. And you're a unique great ape that's very social. So hominids are very social apes. Okay. And you have a map, what I call your heart. Your map maps your attachment to other people. Okay. And tracks your intuitive self-other relations, whether you're known and valued, what your status is, whether you're affiliating, whether you're hostile. Okay, where you are in the heart social field. Okay, why is that really important? Because avoidant personality people, there's a vertical line, meaning this is the way you feel like you compete with others. Okay, whether you're above them or below them. The structure of avoidant is that you're below.
Okay.
Okay, that your structure is you are the submissive inferior. That's the felt experience. It's the exact opposite of the narcissist, at least like a Trump. Okay, so the avoidant personality is exactly opposite to Trump in the way he positions himself in relation. Okay, and then and that's your relationship system, and of course that's built over time, and then you carry that. So you have your emotion system, all right, your relationship system, and then finally your identity. Your identity is how you justify to yourself through your ego. Oh my gosh, this is who I am. This is why I do my language and self-reflection. This is why I'm the person that I am. Okay, that's your ego. And then your persona is then how you interface with other people, which is like, this is my mask and personal into public presentation based on the identity that other people see me as and what I'm trying to regulate. Okay. So that's like, okay, I'm playing a role. I'm going to fill a role. I'm going to do all that. Okay.
Yeah.
So now your stack is your emotions, your relationship, your identity. Okay. Personality disorders means there's something structurally and functionally fucked up in the stack.
Should I quote you that way?
Feel free. I don't care. I'm an affectively charged individual and I unfilter. Okay. So
Me
yes,
too,
I use curse
okay.
words all the time because I see them as coherently integrating my affect and my thought. You know, people with personality disorders are fucked up. We all know what that means. You know, it's like, all right, good. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, so the stack, there are different kinds of fucked upness. Okay. And avoidant represents a particular kind. Its antithesis is the narcissist. And what it basically means is the emotion system super vulnerable, the relationship system feels super inferior, and the identity self-criticizes all the time.
Can you just say that again? I know I'm going to get the tape, but just say what you just said again.
The emotion system super vulnerable. Okay. The relationship system is super inferior, and the identity system is super self-critical.
That sounds like a quote or something of a quote right there. Yeah. Okay. I don't forget
personality in general, and then
Yeah.
into avoidant in particular. That's what I set up.
Yeah. No, that's great. That is absolutely great. I have written almost 6,000 words. And again, so when I incorporate your quotes, I will find the place where they go. I'll probably change some of what I've already written. And then I will send it back to you so you see your quotes in context.
Right. Well, just to give you an idea of what you're looking at here and why know that the field is very immature.
Yes, I know.
Okay. And what it does is it works symptom-based. So you're like, oh, here are the symptoms. And then here's the diagnosis. And then here's the treatment. Right? Well, wait a minute. What the fuck is the structure and what's the cause that gives rise to the symptoms? Okay. So what I try to tell people, like in medicine and health, okay, medicine and health is much more, well, they're different areas, but the core of medicine is much more advanced. Okay. So what we are in terms of psychiatry, clinical psychology, we symptom-based. It's like you would go to the medical doctor and be like, oh, I'm throwing up, I have no nausea, blah, blah, blah. And we would diagnose you as stomach ache disorder. Okay, stomach ache disorder means you've lost your appetite, means you're throwing up, means you're nauseous, means you're nauseous, and then it's the secondary characteristics. Okay, right. Well, how do we adjust that? Well, you take Pepto-Bismol and you try to eat milk and you blah, 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 and you don't. Okay, well, okay, great. But then anybody with medical knowledge would be like, well, shit, there'd be a lot of things that would cause stomach ache disorder.
Sure.
And we probably would want to understand what the stomach is, how it breaks down, and then orient ourselves to the causes rather than just list a cluster of symptoms and try to reduce them. Okay. Right. And then the answer is, well, nobody knows what the hell psychology is. And so because of that, all we do is symptom-based regulation because we don't really understand what
the cause. Yeah.
Really the structural functional organization, and then the etiological, that's the technical word for the causal breakdown. Okay. And nobody agrees. You ask the Freudians, they say one thing, the behaviorists say another, the humanists, the neuroscientists, everybody's got their version of reality. Right. And they all have interesting things to say, but you can't put them all together and make sense of them. Or at least I argue you can if you know what the hell you're doing, but nobody knows what the hell they're doing. And so that's where I argue. Okay. So that's the basic gist to give you an idea of what you're looking at and why you'll get these symptoms in diagnosis and treatment. But what's actually missing is, well, what's the actual picture that we're operating from? And it's like, well,
then of course there would be better treatment perhaps than some.
Well, then if you could imagine that we'd all get together and basically be like, oh, if you talk to 4 different psychologists, they'll actually tell you the same thing. Holy shit. You know, at least even in the outline, you know, I mean, you can talk to a bunch of oncologists, they'll tell you what cancer is. Okay. Personality disorders, no, you can talk to psychiatrists, psychologists, they won't tell you the same thing. So it's that level of confusion.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well.
So anyway, there's my little
no,
lecture bullshit.
That is great. That is great. So can you give me a couple of examples? I'm just looking at a copy of that email I sent you this morning. A couple of examples of avoidant personality behavior, i.e. socially and work related. So you know, there's the DSM list of traits, whatever, symptoms. There's lots of information about, you know, just traits and all. I'm just wondering, instead of saying they're going to have, you know, these people have difficulty in work and social situations, I was just hoping to come up with something almost anecdotal. If you haven't known anybody with this condition or worked with, then you might not, you know, it's okay if we make one up. I just would like it not to come from me or from another website, you know, like just actual examples of the behavior. For instance, would find a, you know, would call in sick the day they knew there was going to be a meeting at work because they don't want to work, you know, because they're afraid to be in a meeting situation. They don't like to speak up, and their boss makes them speak up, and so they call in sick. I'm just trying to think of real life situations.
Yep. So right, and they certainly may do that. We can talk about what's the difference between social phobia, social anxiety, and avoidant. They overlap a lot. There's slightly different emphases, but certainly. Let's say somebody got criticized by their boss, okay? And then this would just undo them. So the example I would give is somebody tried to do something, boss comes in, criticizes them, okay? And then they just shrink and collapse, basically, and then run home and be sick the next day.
Okay.
Okay. And then be so tied up in the pain of it, the overwhelm of it, the inability to speak back, the paralyzed, and then ultimately then after it all, both because they get pissed on the one hand, but then they get all scared, and then they get shame based, and then there's this overarching return to, oh my god, I guess I'm a fucking loser that will always be defeated.
Like a loop, you know, it's like a constant
well, it's
loop.
called, actually, there's what the fun core of neurotics is what I call triple negative neurotic loops. Okay, and it's actually negative events trigger negative feelings, which then can't get processed and create a negative reaction. This is actually a vicious cycle core of all neurotic problems.
Yeah.
It's this looping, and they manifest in different ways depending on what the problem is. But neurosis can be almost always identified as this triple negative neurotic loop. And these individuals by personality disorders means they have structural functional processes where they're dispositionally organized to consistently find themselves in these patterns. Okay.
Wow.
So a boss that can be a little edgy and assertive comes across as unbelievably intense. Okay. And then they can't decide whether the boss really is an asshole or they're just weak, you know. And so you get the split. And then eventually, after you hide in your little place for a while, that avoiding basically means you're so terrified about what the dangers are that you go and you hide. Okay. And so then you sit there and then you avoid the conflicts, you avoid the concerns, you can't bring yourself to address stuff. So things pile up, and then you back yourself further and further away because the threat of doing it and the felt sense that you actually could compete in conflict is that the inner sense is you're always going to raise the white flag in conflict. You'll always be the defeat one. That's why I like to contrast it to Trump. So Trump's always like, fuck you. You didn't think, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm better than you. He'll always do that. The avoidance, the exact worst. You're better than me. You're better than me. You're better than me. Oh my God, star. Okay. And then they feel all bad in relationship to that.
And they also convince the rest of the world that they are better than them.
Totally. They shrink all, their whole body language shrinks. They run away. And then other people are like, well, if I just slap you upside the head, metaphorically, you run the hell away. Yeah. Then other people in a power dynamic, other people are going to take advantage of that. So this is the vicious cycle.
So somebody like Trump can become president.
Well,
he convinces people that he deserves it. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, a lot of people see that as powerful and, and appealing, and we can get all into that hell. But anyway.
You're down south, aren't you? Well, you're in Virginia.
I'm in Virginia. So 75% of the people around me are Trump supporters.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
And I'm a New Yorker, except I'm in Rhode Island right now. But yes.
Yeah. No, I'm a psychologist in Stuart's Draft. So there it is. Of course, I'm also kind of a critic of some of the extreme left. So it's super fucking weird. I tell people I live in Stuart's Draft where I'm unbelievably liberal. And then I drive up to JMU where people experience me as unbelievably conservative. It's like, I don't know what the world is going through. But that's my life. So there it is.
I know. Well.
But anyway. Yeah. So that's the felt sense. Submit, defer, run away. And then shame in relationship to this, and then a pervasive sense of inadequacy, inferiority, rumination, identity, emotion, and relation. So giving examples of getting criticized or struggling or any type of critique that then leads us to a psychological collapse, and then hiding, and then an inability to metabolize, learn, and grow, but instead doubles down on the sense of ineffectiveness and I'll never learn anything. Okay.
Okay, I'm so glad you're going to be able to send me this tape, that you're so skilled at Zoom. Okay, is it
time on Zoom world? Go ahead.
Sorry?
Spend a lot of time on Zoom world.
Oh, I guess so. Do you teach on Zoom?
Well, partially, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a professor, so
That's what I
actually
figured.
I got because I had to teach an overload. I asked to teach a class online because I have 40 minutes away from work. But anyway, we'll see this year. Well, right now we're trying to do it on in person, but things a little tricky. We'll see.
We just, I actually, I volunteer once or twice a week to teach English as a second language.
Nice.
Here at the International House. I'm in Providence, Rhode Island for now. And yeah, and so we were on Zoom, of course, and then we finally went back, and now we're back on Zoom again because Rhode Island is always like has the highest number of COVID cases, in the United States, and at times they've had the highest number around the world.
Jesus, really? I didn't realize Rhode Island is such a hot spot.
Yeah, I know. The other place I go is New York, and so the two places I just don't go anywhere lately. Okay, so is it common? Yeah. So is it common? I already know the answer, but I don't know. I don't know. No. Is it common for people with personality disorders to have more than one and to have overlapping symptoms? And if so, can you give me an example of some that may be likely to overlap with AVPD?
Sure.
Started to do that, but.
No, that's totally fine. So we have the overarching core of the problem, which is this affect, relational identity, dispositional trouble that causes all sorts of problems. And indeed they tried in the DSM to create a dimensional analysis of personality functioning on this core, which is a much better model. Okay. And then you get some profiles that emerge out of the core. Okay. Particular kinds of profiles. And depending on how much detail you want, I can explain why they are the way they are. I've already alluded to one, which is that there's a polar opposite between avoidant and narcissistic. Okay.
Yes.
You won't see that anywhere, but theoretically, when you actually look at it, you're like, oh, totally. That's like, they're totally opposites. Why don't we know that? It's like, well, it's good to have the right theory.
Yes. Yeah.
Bottom line. So there's relationships between them. So the avoidant personality is inside the cluster C.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Which are the cluster Cs are the two classic cluster Cs, and I'll explain why the third one is important, which is obsessive compulsive. Two classic cluster Cs are dependent and avoidant.
Right.
Okay. And what these are in the relationship system, they're both representing a style where they put the other above the self. Okay. Other above self. All right. Which, by the way, is exactly opposite of a narcissist or an antisocial. Okay. Antisocials and narcissists put self above other. All right. So these are other above self conditions. And again, people won't know that language, but theoretically, that's what's going on. It's like, I don't feel confident in myself. And then the avoidant doesn't feel it in competition. Okay. The dependent is terrified of abandonment and they need to fuse with another or others. And so they'll subjugate themselves through submission, but to be attached to somebody. So the dependent is like, oh my God, don't leave me.
Don't leave me, yeah.
And I'll be masochistic or I'll be submissive and I will defer, but I will stay attached to you so that I can at least see a secure object that has some power and responsibility because I can't take any for my own. And then at least that powerful other can be my secure base, even if I might get abused. Okay?
Right.
That's the dependent structure, and an avoidant dependent other orientation is very common. Okay.
They get avoidant. Oh, okay.
Avoidant dependent. In fact, my general question is when I'm looking at somebody's relationship system, one of the core questions I ask, are they other over self or self over other? Okay, it's a foundational question, and that's actually a better way of it's actually less jargon and it's fundamental. The relationship system is constantly evaluating self over other versus other over self. And that balanced, healthy people are balanced. They're both competent and friendly, understand how to read and create synergistic self-other relations. Personality disorder people fear, and then they either get super pissy, fuck you, and are other over self, dog eat dog world, fuck them, okay? Or, oh my God, I'm being effective, I'll submit to anybody just so I don't get abused or beaten. And then they either run away, that's the avoidant tendency, and hide, or the dependent tendency is to come under somebody and stay attached. And they, and they're related structures. So it's not uncommon to have somebody have both avoidant and dependent tendencies. Okay. You would not see somebody as avoidant and narcissistic tendencies.
Right. Okay.
That would be very rare. Okay. That'd be weird. But avoidant goes one way, dependent goes another. Avoidant will hook around some into paranoid at times. If the person's hiding a lot and feels really a lot of rage, they can get hooked into a paranoid structure that the world's out to get them in a particular way. Okay. But that's uncommon, but it's certainly not unheard of. The last structure is that relates to the some, but it's really, I characterize a different kind of thing, is obsessive compulsive.
Yeah.
Okay? Obsessive compulsive is really the rigidity of the identity system that's trying to control relationships and control affect and force things into logical boxes. Okay. The obsessive compulsive personality has a rigid, overly structured identity function that tries to place everything and then maintain the cleanliness of everything in its boxes in a way that's excessive and rigid and experienced as cold or controlling by others. Okay. Now, personality, somebody like avoidant, because they get alone, can then try to then control their house, okay, and get really then clean, and then as a way to maintain, well, this is my safe place, I'm going to control this a particular way. I'll get perfectionistic as a way to gain some kind of compensatory power, those kinds of issues. Not uncommon to have an avoidant obsessive compulsive relation, because the person then tries to control stuff that they can't control in relation. Because you don't have a relation dynamic with the little room you live in, and then you can control that potentially. Okay. As a way of kind of like, well, and when it's somebody else, oh my God, I freak out. But if nobody's here, then I can gain control, gain safety, gain predictability, those kinds of issues, and then do it rigidly in a way. It's certainly not a hugely common profile, but not an uncommon.
No, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what my ex-husband's OCD.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, there's OCD.
I mean, clinically, I'm not just throwing it out. I mean, he really does.
And be very aware that, okay, so this is OCPD, obsessive compulsive, where the identity function is justifying the need for perfection, restricted control. Okay. OCD is different.
I know.
OCD is the procedural system that has a glitch in it that drives particular kinds of control behaviors that the ego's like, well, this is fucking weird, but I feel compelled to do it. So
right.
the difference is between whether or not the center of control is in the ego, which is OCPD, which is like, I need to do this because this is right, versus OCD, which is like, I need to do this, but this is fucked up. Okay. And now they do overlap for certain reasons. But that's the fundamental difference between OCPD. It's identity centered.
Yes.
OCD is habit centered and glitch centered, and it fucks the system up. And so the person says like, God, I don't need to wash my hands 50 fucking times to get rid of these germs, but I need to.
But I have to,
I have to do it because it's, the compulsion and the thoughts obsession is glitching, not in the ego, but in the underlying procedural system.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, don't be, please. I love, because I get all this good background. It helps me then turn this into layperson speak. I just don't want you to be disappointed when you see that they're going to be very simple quotes. It's
no, of course, no. I've done this 6,000 times. People have been, I know what this is, and I know what I am.
I'm very interested in psychology myself, so I'm always happy to have the conversations. I just, for when I'm writing, it has to be very, very simplified.
Of course. Listen, I've lived I did the Psychology Today thing. I'm trying to figure out how to translate this goddamn weird ass theory to real people. So I have experience with it. I'm not that good at it yet. I'm getting
yes, there. It doesn't matter because you give me a better understanding with everything that even if I don't understand every single word you say, or you know what it is, it just goes so fast. It's not that I don't understand your words. It just goes by so fast. When I look at the when I can look at the tape again, that would be helpful. But most of this will not get incorporated into the article. They'll get sort of incorporated into my brain so that I can then just give you a simple a few quotes.
Perfect.
So I would introduce, it'll be like any magazine or site article you read. I will introduce you with all your credentials and then just quote you throughout.
Perfect.
The first time I quote you, it'll have your string of whatever credentials you want, and then later on, it'll just say your name as the person who said.
Of course.
Whatever
Yeah. No,
I've
been.
So besides okay, so this has to do with self-care, and I think it's just because, and this question, there may be nothing, there may not be an answer but it's just that, I was a magazine writer, and I was always working for service magazines, meaning there was always a takeaway for the reader. Is there something they could do right now? So all I'm really asking in this last question is, well, what I had read too, that it's probably even more likely that a family member, someone who cares about the person with avoidant personality disorder would be the one looking for help for that person, more than it might even be the person themselves, because they can't pick up the phone and ask for the help. But so I'm very interested in, like, somebody reading this article, besides there's a big emphasis on getting a clear diagnosis, make sure you've got a qualified person giving you a good, a clear diagnosis. And there's a lot of, I've mentioned a lot that there isn't a lot of research specifically on avoidant personality, and therefore, not really, no knowledge of the cause, and therefore, just symptoms. And therefore, they're still working on the best treatment. I'm just wondering if there's anything that a person, even advice to the family, because I think it would be just as likely that a family member would be reading, if this was my kid or my sister or my whatever, I'd be reading up on it. And so even if there's something that someone can do to be supportive of someone with avoidant personality or with a personality disorder in general, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, of course. I mean, there are a couple of things that certainly come to mind, but yeah, people want this all the time. It makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Part of the issue is that it's very hard when it's the person to give advice in a column that actually makes sense for them to utilize and internalize. The idea that we can give advice to a person away from the person that can then utilize that to impact the person is, well, we're really far. It's a real stretch. Okay?
Yes, I know.
So, I mean, certainly if you're trying to say that, okay, there's a family member, there are a couple of key questions, that people, it's like, hey, does the person hide because they feel like they're totally inferior? And they can't help it, but they just feel completely inferior, and they feel terrified that other people are going to see them as losers and ineffectual, and so they run away so that that's not seen. Like, so if I were trying to figure out what's going on with my kid, is this kid autistic, okay, or is this kind of a social phobia, and is this avoidant? People, I can differentiate avoidant from social phobia, not lay people. Okay, it's overlapping enough so that really we shouldn't try to actually. By the way, the fundamental difference, and they overlap a lot, but the social phobic is situationally dependent on the trigger, meaning that it is the stimulus of the social event that then creates a cascade of fear, and then it's that cascade of fear that drives the response, hence the old term social phobia. Okay. Outside the social phobia, their structure of identity and affect can be okay, but in the presence of the situation, the affect of the fear, stimulus-bound fear, triggers very avoidant-like behavior. Okay, so, but you can see that the context of situational social issues, most classically like public speaking, exposed to strangers, and conflict, but it is situation-bound, and then they get away, and if you're comfortable with somebody, then the identity, affect, and stuff, usually it scars the person, but it's not necessarily structurally, functionally bound. For the avoidant personality, the psyche is structurally, functionally bound in this particular way. That's why it's inside the individual in a particular kind of, and personality disorders are structure functional problems, whereas the axis 1 classic things are kind of situationally adaptive bound problems. Okay,
yeah.
That's the loose description, and that carries some utility. So just in your own mind, that's the social phobia / social anxiety distinction is that it's the social anxiety person is bound to the stimulus more so, bound to the situation, and it activates a pretty similar cascade, and there's huge overlap. There are a lot of people who get diagnosed with social phobia and have avoidant personality, or vice versa, whatever.
Okay.
So that is there's a tight relation. In fact, we really look at this, the overlap, is high. Conceptually, if you know what you're doing, you can see, yeah, there's a difference that somebody's situationally bound as opposed to somebody who's structurally, functionally organized this way.
Right.
But
right.
that's you have
Right.
to know what you're looking at to really be able to decipher those different issues. So but the bottom line is, if I'm a third person, okay, the issue is, oh my God, social situations activate this intense anxiety and intense shame and intense sense of inferiority. So then we wonder about that. If you want to talk to somebody, they'll have a huge hard time talking about it. So just know that it has to be super safe and super even to bring it up, because they'll run away from it. Okay, that's the structure.
Yeah.
And then so you have to be very careful and you have to be sensitive to that. That's one thing. Okay.
You have to know they're in a safe place, and then how do they know that if they don't know you?
Totally. And they'll perceive threat even when it's not there. So it's tough, that's definitely, and that's why to try to create an awareness in a magazine article that allows people to understand the dynamics, and then, they'll just run up. I read something. Hey, do you have avoidant personality disorder? Oh, Jesus. Don't do that. It's like, that is exactly the kind of thing. But that's what people do. They're like, oh, hey, there's 4 symptoms. Let me just go ask them. It's like, oh my God, that's going to trigger the shit out of them. So anyway,
I think everybody diagnoses themselves with some kind of.
Yeah, no, I mean,
maybe it's good that we do that we at least look at ourselves.
Well, at least you want to look at, right. Those that are somewhat psychologically minded will start asking questions.
Yeah.
Part of the unified theory, I'll just give you this, you can decide the way you want to do anything with this. Okay?
Yeah.
So the unified theory is it's basically what I wanted was the basic structure of psychotherapy and the basic structure of psychological problems that people present in psychotherapy.
Right.
Okay. And the center of psychotherapy are neurotic problems. There are a lot of other things. There's psychotic, addiction, blah, 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 and they all relate. The cluster is what are called internalizing neurotic problems. Okay. Some of which are structure functional into personality disorders, some of which are kind of situational and maladaptive, which are the, anxiety, generalized anxiety, depression, adjustment disorder shit. And that's a cluster. Okay. And the root cluster is vicious cycles of these triple negative neurotic loops, negative situations, triggering negative affect, and then a negative reaction inside or between people on the negative situation, negative affect, that then adds fuel to the fire and creates a vicious cycle. Okay. So it's like bad thing happened, you feel like shit, and you react to your feelings, to the situation, to other people negatively, trying to control it, but do so in a way that's restricted and short-sighted. And the way you then try to control it makes it fucking worse. And then you try harder, making it even more worse. That's a cycle dynamic. Okay. So that's the core of what drives people in couples, drive people into, why do you get shut down? Why do you have anxiety? Why do you have personality problems? This is the pattern that you look for. Okay.
That's great. Yes.
So the little black dot on the little tree behind me, see that black dot on the tree behind me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that stands for a thing called CALM-MO. Okay. CALM-MO, which is an integrative approach to psychological mindfulness. Okay, which is fundamentally about what you need to do to stop the triple negative neurotic looping. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, if depending on how many words you have, I mean, then but that when people ask me, well, what's the take home message about what I want to do with a psychological problem?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the general answer is, okay, you want to understand this. That's the best I can give. This is your architecture to kind of understand the dynamic. So I could explain what that is. I don't need to go any further if you don't think it's useful.
Well, I don't think it is now, but when I sit with this, and if you send me the tape and I can look at it, refer back to it and incorporate you into the articles, then I'll see if
Okay.
I'll see
Well,
if I don't know.
I'll explain it briefly to you, and then you can decide what to do with it. Okay.
Okay.
It's by the way, it's a really just for our lives. Okay. This is the argument. Basically is okay. So what we want to help people do, psychological mindfulness means you wake up to the stream of your process and behavior. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually then adopt a metacognitive perspective on it. So you can actually shift. Okay. And that's MO is a metacognitive observer.
Okay.
Okay. And it basically says, hey, imagine a third person view. Okay. And in fact, a view from above, which is a third person sage, an intelligent, wise, healthy person watching the system. That's the perspective. In fact, the little black dot, you can't really see, it's an eye from above. Okay. So the wise other, wise elder perspective, like watching, that's what it is. MO also stands for modus operandi. Okay.
Yeah.
And it says, okay, which basically means this is a skill, a mode of being that you want to learn how to cultivate. Okay. It's not easy to do.
I know.
Right. So you have to know what it is, and then you have to practice it. Okay. And then the calm obviously is a word relative to the tenseness. Okay. And then fundamentally, it's a word that then breaks down into an acronym, okay, which says the C stands for curiosity. And other words related are openness and wondering. Okay. So we want the attitude of this metacognitive observer view from above, wise elder, is not closed and rigid, but curious, open, and wondering.
Sure.
Okay. And then the A stands for acceptance, okay, which is capacity to, like, if you're in a negative situation with negative feelings, the capacity to tolerate that rather than reject and resist. Okay. So the capacity to be present with negative situations, negative feelings, rather than immediately negatively react with rejection and resistance. Okay. L stands for loving compassion, which is cultivating an attitude towards self, other, the world. Okay.
Yes.
As opposed to hostility, irritability, okay, and blame. And then M stands for motivated toward valued states of being in the short and long term. Motivated toward valued states of being in the short term, like what's the situation and what's the outcome you want. In the long term, what kind of life do you want to live, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Okay. So the idea here is that you internalize the view from above. You're able to activate that perspective as a mode. It's a perspective that carries the attitude of curiosity rather than closedness, acceptance rather than rejection, okay, loving compassion rather than irritable hostility, all right, and motivated toward valued states of being rather than, hopeless and helpless. In fact, I have a system before that's like, normally what people have is called the critic. And the critic is closed and rejecting and irritable and tense, okay? That's what the identity is that does the triple negative neurotic looping. So you get negative situation, negative feeling, and then you activate the inner critic. And avoidant people do this amazingly well. They have their fucking inner critics, this introject that hates everything, especially their own inability to handle it, okay? And so therapy is about taking that that reactive part that's critic and turning it into calm. That's essentially the essence of therapy for all these internalizing conditions in general, and certainly avoid is an internalizing condition, as is social anxiety. Okay, they're both internalizing. They have different kinds of structures, but they're similar. And this is so what the avoidant does is like they have the problem and then they blame the shit out of themselves characterologically Okay. And that just damn it. They think they're trying to make sense, but actually they do it excessively and rigidly and overgeneralize. And then they turn in an identity to work deeply against them. So their critical identity, which they're trying to think about how to learn about shit, is actually this internalized nasty ass parent that only makes them feel shittier and shittier. So it deflates them. If you can turn that parent from a critic to calm, then ultimately you'll reverse some of these, the process of the triple negative neurotic loops. Then you actually have to teach people how to live in the world, because these people are also incompetent, quite frankly. They don't know what to do. So you actually have to add skills and all this other shit. But the fundamental shift needs to be on this, at least in the psychological sense of the shift, they need to shift this critic to calm, essentially. That's essentially what that stops the reverse vicious cycles and allows them to metabolize what's going on in a way that affords learning and growth, as opposed to shame and deflation.
That's so this is your this is the theory that you came up with, that you are actually kind of known for. Is that right?
Well, I built a thing called a unified theory of knowledge, actually.
Okay.
So, of which has lots of parts to it. The black dot is the COM-MO. All those other parts, they're all dots inside of a fucking labyrinth of a theory that I turned into a garden, like the Garden of Eden. So you can come and take an apple and say, oh, well, there, I just shared with you the COM-MO apple. There's 15 apples inside the garden that you can eat off of in different ways, but that's one of them.
Well, one of the things too, that you know, even if so much of this doesn't actually get into this particular article, I do write for PsyCom. You know, it depends. I can go a year and not hear from the editor, and then all of a sudden I can be right. You know, she could be assigning 6 articles to me in a year. So I'll definitely keep it all for the future too.
Well, yeah,
I never know what she's going to give me. She tends to give me the tough stuff, and I don't know why. Right. I think she just knows that, you know, I won't give up on it. I'll do the best that I can. I'll find good people. You know, I think she just knows all that.
Well, I'll let you in on a little. I will let you in on a little secret. There's high level theoretical shit that's happening big time. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the next 20 years, there's going to be a revolution around this stuff. I'm syncing up with some seers who found their own path. And we're going to have a second enlightenment that actually gets psychology right. And when we do, it's going to fucking change the entire structure. And I'm part of that movement. But it's way too far ahead for the populace to actually have any frame of reference for what's going on. But if you want the, you know, at some level, there's an inside scoop that we are 20 years away from a radical revolution in the entire way. And psychology is everywhere, and it's fucked up everywhere. And when we get it actually right and people can actually metabolize that, it's going to be, it will. And I mean, obviously I'm saying from my egocentric perspective, I know all that, but I'm just telling you, I'm watching on the horizon of this and syncing up with other people that are actually climbing up their own mountain and being like, oh, I understand now what we did wrong. We can now figure out what we did right. And people are syncing up on it. And it's going to be really exciting.
It is going to be interesting. I wonder, you know, I know this is may or may not be related to what you're saying, but it seems to me, and even again, for the sake of this article, but it seems to me that whenever you try to figure out what's the best treatment, now we're talking about like more common, I think, or well, not that this is so common. It seems like cognitive behavioral therapy is the go-to solution for so much of what I know about psychology. And it seems to me that it can't really be a cure-all. And I do understand that individual therapists also bring, you know, they bring other methods and tools in, and they do, you know, their own knowledge and their own theories, and their, you know, and then give, you know, take into consideration who they're working with, you know, when they finally figure that out. And, you know, but it just seems to me that can't be the only.
No, that's basically bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
It's basically bullshit. I worked with Beck for 4 years. Beck, the father of cognitive therapy.
Yeah.
And as an undergrad, I believed what you just said. And then I learned the reality, and it's actually all unfortunately.
Yeah. No. Okay. I just wanted to.
The reality is that 95%, okay, of the outcome is what the person, the therapist, and the patient are able to build together. Okay. And the best of the best get great outcomes. Many people get the standard outcome, which is actually, you really don't even need a lot of training for. You just need a good listening ear and listen to people. And then that helps the vast majority of people that are able to be helped by psychotherapy. a subset of us are actually master clinicians that actually help really fucked up people. Most people don't help up really fucked up people. Some people can.
They don't know how.
They don't know how. A lot of people are very helpful with a listening ear and a good relationship, and they help most people that come into psychotherapy 60%, and they help them get better. Okay. And then you get people that don't know what the fuck they're doing at all, and or bad mismatches that hurt people. Okay. The CBT shit, it's unbelievably small in terms of actually, it's just a marketing bullshit game. They grabbed a hold of the empirical method and then use that to leverage a particular marketing salesman advertise. I know, Beck. I know exactly how he fucking did it.
Yeah.
I thought this as an undergrad. And then you actually read what really actually happened. I ran one of these studies and saw what actually happened. It's all a fucking shell game. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really sad because people are trying to make policy about this, but it's actually real, thoughtful relations. You know, like, hey, do you like the person? Do you trust them? Do they help you understand so that you understand your problems? And do they cultivate motivation to change and give you good growth feedback? That's what it is.
Last one is, right.
Okay. And if you're able to do that, you're going to get a good outcome. That's essentially the process. And people that are psychodynamic or emotion focused or cognitive behavioral, the skilled ones do that and the lousy ones don't. And they all do it equally. I mean, it's amazing, you know, but I'm president actually of the Society for the Exploration of Psychotherapy Integration. I just became president of that society. It's on psychotherapy integration. Okay. That's what and those of us that are in the know that this whole brand thing, it's just a brand promotion bullshit. And the people actually going out there selling this and really, the science tells you. Well, I know about the science and it's just bullshit. So it's sad. But that is the reality. And that's what happened in terms of the populace. And this just, the nightmare really is that, once again, notice how symptom-based it is. Okay. It's like, you think wrong. So just twitch your thinking and then you'll be fine.
Right.
A lot of this actually is at the heart. It's like, are you known and valued by your parents, by your friends, by yourself? What's the core fundamentally? Are you actually securely attached? And do you have purpose in this world that you feel like you can share and be known and valued for? That's actually the fundamental root of 90% of our psyche problems. That's not anywhere in fucking cognitive behavioral therapy.
No, it's not.
They don't even talk at all about the heart. That's where all of it is, feeling known and valued or not, feeling like a piece of shit, or fear that you're a piece of shit and you're going to be rejected. That's the fundamental core. The humanist got this, and it's actually the center core of our structure. And that's sad. And our outcome oriented system where it's just instrumental and symptom based, and trying to pour pills and little switches so that people's little scores go up. It's actually, there's a lonely hunger famine for actual authentic fucking connection. And our field, it's like not even paying attention to it. We're the psychologists. It's ridiculous. I get all pissed off, as you can say.
I can see that. It's not, but
anyway,
I know how you feel. All right, so I could listen to you all day, but I can't because I've got to go on this article.
So I can. I'll hit. Any other final questions here as we wrap up?
I don't have a question right now because I've already got so much to absorb. But if you can send me that tape, that's great.
I'm going to do that.
Sure. I'll
get it within an hour and a half.
Yeah, whenever you can.
It's just a download and all that. So,
thank you, whenever you can. And also, if I get back to you the way I'm quoting you so that you can edit those if necessary, and it may be necessary. If I do that tomorrow, sort of first thing, would you have time tomorrow? At any time tomorrow would be okay to look at them and just get it back to me?
Send it to me. I should absolutely be able to do that.
And that way, if I have to make any changes, I can do it before Monday when I really have to submit, even though it's MLK Day. I've already extended I had a long time to do this, but getting good help from experts has not been easy for this one. So thank you very, 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 very much. I'm very happy to meet you, and I will be in touch as soon as I can pull this together. How
did you find me? Or did you come out via the?
Because I blog. So I blog on Psychology Today, and but not very often, but I do. And it's called you can just search for my name. You'll see. Yeah. It's pretty simple. It's magazine-y kind of stuff. Yeah. And I do it right now. I mean, I pretty much only blog the 3 times that we're required to right now. But my hope is to sort of semi-retire at some point and just do the blog for some extra. I mean, I don't make any money to speak of on my blog, that's for sure. And it's really, Psychology Today is not really the venue for me, because I don't write about eating disorders. I really don't. But whatever, I've got the blog there, and so I do. So that's how I always find, or that's how I always start. It's not how I always find, but it's how I always start looking for experts, is because it's so easy to search and come up with people who wrote a blog about the topic, whatever the topic is I'm writing.
Right. Did you find me through a particular blog, is I guess what I was asking?
Oh, it was definitely about personality disorders, but I'd have to go back and see which one I was looking at.
Well, the other thing, the reason I was asking is because I did do a blog that you may be interested in on social anxiety, and given the overlap between social anxiety and avoidant, I was just basically, I'll send you the link to that when I send you this link.
Yes, I really have to focus on avoidant for this article, because it's all about avoidant. I bring up others, don't get me wrong, and you'll see.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
Yeah. So, but let me
I'll
just
send you a link.
Work with what you've given me, which is a lot. And so, and again, it's going to have to be down to maybe 3 or 4 quotes, between 2 or 3. I'm not sure. I just have to look at it all and see what I'm going to do. But yes, I found you through Psychology Today. I have 2 other people that are going to answer different kinds of questions for me. I also got them through Psychology Today.
Okay.
And they're in the process of writing up answers actually as we speak. At least that's what they told me yesterday. So and today. So I'll let you know, and you'll see it. You'll get to see what I did, and you can just focus in on your parts. You can look at the whole thing. It doesn't matter. I just have to pull it together. That's what I need.
Okay. Well, I'll send you this tape in an hour. Okay.
Thank you so much. So much.
Good chatting.
All right. Talk
Good
to you
luck.
soon. Okay.